Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to my review for Season 2 of Daredevil. That's right, Daredevil premiered last year, and I absolutely loved it. Never did a review for it, but I absolutely loved pretty much every episode of that show. It captivated me, and it made me want to keep watching just over and over again. Not saying I watched the season over and over again, I just wanted to keep watching episodes. And I was really looking forward to Season 2. I was really looking forward to stuff like Jessica Jones, and I'm really looking forward to Luke Cage. I'm really looking forward to that Punisher series. I'll get to that in this one. Because Daredevil Season 2 introduced two brand new characters to the mix. And that, of course, was Electra and the Punisher. Now, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I am, in fact, a huge Punisher fan. Now, I haven't read a lot of these Punisher graphic novels and comics. I have a lot of comics, too. I don't know where they are. But, and I have a couple more graphic novels. I don't know where they are either. But, I haven't read those in a long time. I read the shit out of them when I was a kid. So I'm a huge Punisher fan. So when I heard Jon Bernthal from Walking Dead and Fury and The Wolf of Wall Street was going to play the Punisher, Frank Castle, I was so ecstatic. I was like, he could play a perfect Frank Castle. And, yep, well, I ain't going to spoil what I thought of his performance. But let's just say Daredevil Season 2 did not disappoint on many aspects of what I was hoping it would succeed at. Does that make sense? Whatever. Anyway, here we go. Let's review this, because this ain't going to be the most structured review out there because it's a TV show and I don't really review TV shows. But let's get into it. Daredevil Season 2. Alright, so the story for Daredevil Season 2 takes place a little bit after Season 1. I should warn you, if you haven't seen Season 1 yet, I'm going to spoil a little bit of what happened at the end of Season 1 because I have to explain what happens in Season 2 in the beginning at least. So, run along now. Go watch it. It's on Netflix. What you doing, man? $8 a month? You can get a free trial for like, what, 2 or 3 weeks or a month? Do it. You can watch all that in like a week. Me, I can watch it in like 2 days. But you have a real life. You probably have a job. I don't. Go watch it. Go watch it. Just go. Alright, so seeing that everybody that doesn't want to be spoiled is gone, now I can officially say that this show sucks. No, I'm just kidding. The story for Daredevil Season 2, of course, follows Matt Murdock, who is the blind lawyer by day, and by night he's the blind vigilante known as Daredevil, or the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. And as everybody knows, Hell's Kitchen's pretty messy with all these goons and gangsters and stuff. So Daredevil has to go clean that kitchen. I mean, they left the eggs out, they left dishes out, dirty dishes, they left all the grease on the friggin' stove after they cooked their eggs and bacon. Like, who's gonna clean that? Daredevil. Daredevil cleans up the mess. Alright? Better watch out. Don't cook eggs. Well, anyway, alright, so Season 1 ended off with him finally beating Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin, who was a great villain in the first season, so good. And he beat him, he sent him to jail, and this season it starts off pretty well. You know, he's still doing his vigilante thing and his lawyer thing, but everything's, you know, pretty peaceful. You know, there's some gangsters out there here and there, but, you know, it's nothing too hard, nothing too complex. He's just doing his job, both jobs, blind lawyer and whatever, and he's keeping up a social life with his friends Foggy and Karen Page. So he's having a good old time, pretty much. Well, I mean, not a good old time, but he's having a decent time until, of course, someone shows up. And that someone is Frank Castle, played by Jon Bernthal, who is a man that is pretty much like Daredevil, except he doesn't break their legs, he kills them. He kills all the bad people, all the gangsters, mafiosos, everybody. He kills everybody that is deemed killable in his eyes, and of course Daredevil doesn't like that. So Daredevil, along with his two friends, Karen and Foggy, have to find out where this Punisher man is and, you know, make him stop, pretty much. And along the way, some people from Matt Murdock's past shows up, including Electra, played by Elodie Young. I think that's her name. And I don't want to spoil anything else. Just that's the setup. There you go. So Season 2 of Daredevil, I'm just going to say it straight off, it was extremely strong. It was not only so entertaining to watch, but it really is a very well done character piece, I would say, because you follow Matt Murdock throughout most of this, and from the beginning of this season, he's normal. I mean, the first season he had his moments where he's a little depressed, and, you know, his character's kind of devolving or whatever. And this one, in the beginning, he's pretty happy for the most part. He's still worried about his city and all that stuff, but for the most part, he's a happy guy, you know, doing what he likes, which is both being a lawyer and being a vigilante. And throughout the course of all 13 episodes, his character really does change quite a bit. So it really is a character piece. It's called Daredevil, and it really does focus mostly on Daredevil. And Charlie Cox is great, by the way. He's still really good, and I'm glad they picked him, because I've seen him in movies before where I'm like, this guy's kind of charming. I like this guy. And they picked him for Daredevil, so there you go. He's got a big property under his belt, I guess you could say. And of course, Daredevil Season 2 is not just all about Daredevil. You also have, of course, his friends Foggy Nelson and Karen Page, who are both great in this. I would say maybe Foggy's character, played by Eldon Henson, the kid from Mighty Ducks, the guy from Idle Hands. Remember Idle Hands? He had his head cut off, and then he tried to eat burritos or something, and it came out of his neck hole. You gotta watch it, I guess. I would say he's a little bit weaker in this season. There's a couple of moments where his character kind of gets lost in the story, and then when he comes back, I would say not his character, but his acting's a little bit weaker. I don't know why I noticed that, but in the first half of the season, his acting's a little bit weaker, but then he gets much better throughout the season, which was good, because I was like, I don't know about this guy. Like, first season I was with him. Maybe it was because season 1 involved more him and Matt Murdock having a relationship and being buddies. In this one, there's less of that, but so the first season the first half of this season I thought he was a little weak, but he got better. And Karen Page, Deborah Wool, I think her name, Deborah Ann Wool, I thought she was really good in this throughout the entire season, and she has probably as much character development as Daredevil does, so great job. But of course, everybody wants to know what I think of the 2 new additions, of course being Elodie Young as Electra, and my boy Jon Bernthal as the Punisher, Frank Castle. Let me tell you, okay, Electra, let me just say this. Considering the last thing I saw Elodie Young was Gods of Egypt, she was really good in this. I thought she was very, very charismatic, very likable. I'm glad that she didn't play Electra kind of like how I felt Jennifer Garner played her in the Electra movie and the Daredevil movie, which, thank God for that, where I felt like she was just like the cold ninja type in that, where she had no real personality. Here she has a personality. She's actually way more entertaining than some of the other characters out there. She's probably the most eccentric, fun character in the show, I would say. And yeah, I thought she was great. She was really likable, and I'm glad she didn't play the cold ninja type, which she could have easily done, and she didn't. She did a great job. So I'm sure everybody's wondering what I thought of Jon Bernthal as the Punisher. Let me say this, okay? The Punisher was a character I absolutely loved when I was a kid. I read tons of comics about the Punisher, graphic novels. They were all extremely violent, had crazy villains. The Punisher himself was a complex but not that complex character at the same time, if that makes sense. Because he's complex because there's a lot of emotions building inside him about his family. But again, we've seen that kind of character before, about like someone that lost their family before. Look at Batman. Batman lost his family and he became a vigilante. I mean, Daredevil is kind of the same thing. He lost his eyesight and his dad, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to be a vigilante. It's very similar to a lot of other Marvel or even just superheroes in general. But his character is like Batman if Batman said, fuck it, I'm smashing heads in. Like, it's just what I think would be realistic, especially since the Punisher was that kind of character that has a very dark past anyway. So his character is perfect for someone that's just murdering killing machine. And that's what I really enjoyed about the Punisher, is that he's a murdering killing machine, but he still has some complexity to his character, and you actually do end up feeling bad for him, even though he's popping eyes out and freaking slicing throats and blowing heads off. Like, you really do feel bad for this guy either way. He doesn't need to be Batman, where he's like, he just breaks legs and that's it. He breaks legs and then he rips out the leg bone and then just stabs you in the throat with it. But you still like this character. And Jon Bernthal did an amazing job with that. Jon Bernthal was the perfect casting choice. When I heard he was being cast, I was like, mwah, perfect. I mean, I would have liked either him or Frank Grillo. I think both of those guys could have easily did it. But man, Jon Bernthal knocked it out of the park. And I can't wait to see more Punisher with Jon Bernthal as him. the Punisher, Frank Castle. And there's just times in this show, it felt like a movie because I watched it all in one day, but a very long 13-hour movie. But hey, it didn't feel like it. But there's moments in here where you really do feel bad for him, and then you're scared of him. Just the way he looks. He does a great job of conveying emotion through his face, and he's done that plenty of times and stuff like, even Wolf of Wall Street kind of did that, but in Fury and Walking Dead, he's done that before. But here, he does it to the umpteenth level in the most likable performance from him, because Shane, and even Fury, he was kind of like a dickbag that didn't really have much redeemable qualities. Here, you do really feel bad for him. You understand why he's doing this. There's a whole scene in episode 4, where he is talking about his family, and it really is gut-wrenching. You're like, oh man, it's not gut-wrenching because he's probably murdering someone on screen at the same time, but it's gut-wrenching because he's just sitting there talking to Daredevil, talking about his family, just sitting there. There's no moment where he just like pops someone in the head or anything like throughout the rest of the season. There's just a moment where he's quiet. He's just like talking about his family before the accident happened, and it's really good. He does a great job. He's a great actor, and I really hope next Golden Globes or the Emmys he gets a nomination for this, because he is really that good in this. He's excellent. I thought he was great. Everybody else was great. Elodie Young was great. Charlie Cox, again, shows that he is a great actor, and he can really pull off this Daredevil character. Everybody else does a great job as well. There's a lot of surprises in this, and some characters that may or may not come back in this season that all of those performances are great as well. Some, minor recurring characters from last season are big recurring characters in this one, and they all are great as well. And the acting itself and even the story is rock solid in this. Now, one thing I will say about this season of Daredevil is that it feels more comic bookish, because they introduced something in the last half of the season that does definitely feel like it came from a Daredevil comic, which would make sense. It's based on Daredevil, so it makes sense that they would. But the first season was very set in realism, except maybe a couple moments where I'm like, oh, okay. Here, they really do add kind of like a supernatural element to it, which, not saying I didn't like or anything, but it just felt odd to add that in there after you made this such a realistic style of superhero show. I don't know. That was probably my only negative with the story itself, but the rest of the story is rock solid. Again, character development, the dialogue is great here. Tons of surprises, a lot of twists and turns. There's no episode that ever ends where you go, that wasn't a good ending. It's always an episode where it ends and you're like, I gotta see the next episode. I'm glad it's out right now because I couldn't wait. Every episode does a great job of having that cliffhanger. And I wouldn't even call them cliffhangers, because really you get to see what happens immediately. So it's just like a pause. It was like a commercial break kind of. So the story is rock solid here. Just a couple things I wish they stuck more to the realistic nature of the first season, but I see that they're trying to branch out. They're trying to do this whole Defenders thing, which is Jessica Jones, Punisher, Daredevil, and I think Luke Cage. But, I don't know. Now, while the story itself doesn't stay in the realistic realm that I would really prefer, I will say this. When it gets to the violence in this and the fight scenes, oh man, they are just as perfect as they were in the first season. Now, let me talk about the violence. When it throws all the blood and gore at you, it's not just to satiate your need for violence, like, oh yeah, I want to see a bone break, yeah, oh, I love blood, I want to see him pop someone in the head and their blood goes everywhere. It's not to satiate that. It's actually mostly to show you how grim and dark this world is, and to show you how messed up some of these characters are. Like the Punisher kills people in a way that's just like, you could have easily just popped them in the head with a gun. Well, why do you gotta torture this guy? I mean, sure, maybe he's a mafia member, but you don't need to shoot him in his legs and then shoot him in the head. Just kill him. Just get rid of him. That's your whole thing, is that you want to get rid of the scum, but you're torturing everybody. And there's scenes where he either tortures someone or someone tortures someone else, and it's just really graphic and just like, oh god. There is a scene in, I think, the 4th episode, someone gets tortured and I'm like, oh man. It's a really graphic scene. There's a couple of torture scenes in this season where I'm just like, Jesus. It's really violent, blood spewing everywhere. Maybe a little bit too much blood. Like it seemed like it was just like geysers of blood. I thought I was watching a Quentin Tarantino movie at first, where there's just blood freaking squirting everywhere. Someone gets shot and they're just like, like I I don't know what the hell's going on. But there's a lot of violence in here, but most of it isn't just to satiate your need for violence. It really is to show off how messed up some of the characters are and how messed up this world is, period. And yeah, there's a lot of bone breaking. There's a lot of fight scenes. Let me tell you about those fight scenes. Season 1 had an amazing one tracking shot fight scene with Daredevil and a bunch of I call them goons. I'm just gonna say goons. And he's fighting these goons, and I'm pretty sure just simulated to be one tracking shot. I'm sure there's edits here and there, very, very quick edits that you can't even notice. But it's a very well done tracking shot hallway fight scene. It's a little slow, but it does a great job. Here, there's a whole 5-minute sequence where Daredevil has a chain around his arm, and he's whipping people with it, and it's a one tracking shot with a couple of little obvious but clever edits. But it's so well done. It goes through a hallway. It's never slow. It's always fast. It's 5 minutes of just pure brutality, action, and it is so freaking well done. That episode 3 and 4, the episodes 3 and 4 are the best episodes in any Marvel show I've seen so far. It is so good. Those 3 should be edited down and made into a movie. It's so good. That should be shown in theaters, how good those 2 episodes are. So freaking good. And yeah, that whole fight scene is amazing. Not saying that any of the other fight scenes are bad. No, there's a lot of really great fight scenes in this. The action is just perfect in this. Well choreographed, well shot. You can tell what's going on, unlike some action movies out there. London Has Fallen. Divergent. Legion. Shitty ass movie. Sucks dick. So this does it better than most TV shows and movies out there. So I have to give them major kudos there. So overall, Daredevil Season 2 really knocks it out of the park. The only problem I had is maybe the last half of this season, where it got a little bit more supernatural, a little bit more goofy, but it never left the violent nature of it. It was always still like a violent, very disturbing little story, just a little bit less realistic. It went more to the supernatural, which is, really a very minor criticism. If I had any other problems, I think while the Punisher was amazing, he probably overshadowed everybody else a little bit too much, where I'm just like, I can't wait to see the next Punisher. I can't wait to see the next Punisher scene. I can't wait to see it. And there's a Daredevil scene happening while I'm saying that. And I'm like, oh yeah, Daredevil, of course. But Punisher was so good. When that Punisher TV show comes out, oh man. Oh, they need to do it. They need to. If they're going to do Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, they need to do the Punisher. The Punisher is more popular than Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. I'm sorry, we need a Punisher show. It'd be so good. Oh, it'd be so good. But that's not to say Daredevil is a pussy in this or whatever. It's not saying like Punisher's better than Daredevil. Daredevil's great, and I can't wait for Season 3. Can't wait for Season 2 of Jessica Jones. Can't wait for Luke Cage, which comes out September. I'm really looking forward to all these Marvel shows. They hooked me completely. Netflix knows how to produce some shows out there that are very good. They also know how to make shitty movies like The Ridiculous Six, but hey, you know what? They only produced it. They didn't make it. That was Adam Sandler, his crew of dick shits. But anyway, there you go. That's my review for Daredevil Season 2. It was great. Really enjoyed it. Very minor criticisms. Maybe like some slow episodes here and there, and the story got a little bit less what I wanted, I guess. So that's really just what I wanted. I give it a solid 36 out of 40. Great show, and I can't wait for the next season. And the Punisher was definitely the highlight. I can't wait for the next Punisher thing. So there you go. That's Season 2. My review for Season 2 of Daredevil. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Until next time. Goodbye.